Right, I'm down here in the hull of my boat in a lazarette that I've emptied on the port side of the cockpit. Here in my Pearson 424 catch. And I've been working on this boat through the winter, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to just go over the fuel system. So I'd like to do that now. We're going to start at the tank. The diesel fuel tank is the guts of the fuel system, right? That's where we store our fuel. And we don't want our fuel to get water in it. We don't want it to get dirty. We want it to be ventilated. We want the engine to have access to it. So let's go over the components here of the tank. All right, there's the fuel infill. This is where fuel comes in, getting poured from the outside of the boat. The fuel intake is up there. So on the outside of the hull, we open up the cover and pour fuel down into this hose, which ultimately gets down to this fuel intake and into the tank. You can see two copper hoses. That is part of the fuel distribution that delivers the fuel to the engine and then returns it in those two small copper pipes that you see come through here and head straight down into the engine. From the back side here, you can also see those two Raycor water separators and filters that are part of the fuel system. So the fuel comes from the tank and then down through these tubes and then through that filtering system. Up here at the tank, you also have a vent. This copper tubing here heads back to the transom, up and back, and ultimately that vent feeds out through the transom. So the tank is back behind this board. You can see some of the aluminum tank there behind this fuel filter. And here's the copper tubing here of the intake, right? Coming out of some hose that is meant to be a bit of chafe guard. And it comes out here, and here's a valve that allows us to cut off the fuel. Right here, we can cut off the fuel with that valve, and that is connected to rubber hose, which then circulates behind this T valve here, and that allows us to get fuel either from this Raycor water separator and fuel filter or this Raycor water separator and fuel filter. You choose which one with this lever. So there we would be getting fuel from this filter here because we're pointed in that direction, or we can point it here and draw fuel from this filter over here. Right there, the neutral position, basically fuel comes from neither, right? So that is a fuel cutoff in addition to the other valve. You can see from last season that this was the used filter. It's got a little darker materials in there. It definitely could use a little cleaning and a replacement of the filter. This is all clean fuel. That was cleaned last year and never used. So that's ready to go. We'll probably switch this over so that this year, that'll be the filter that we use. This flexible hose feeds into the lift pump. Here's the lift pump. That flexible hose goes right here to this lift pump. Here's a pump that you can use manually to pump the fuel into the engine. The fuel is then brought up into this fuel filter through this hose here. And from this point on, this is what delivers the fuel to the high pressure portion of the engine. Fuel comes into the high pressure pump, which ultimately gets delivered to these high pressure delivery systems that delivers mistified mist, meaning compressed to a point of a fine mist, to the combustion chambers, which ultimately drives the pistons of the engine down in here. Any fuel that's not used by this is ultimately returned through this flexible hose here, which then goes back and connects to copper tubing right there and then heads back to the tank. So that is the fuel return going through this PVC hose here. That PVC hose there is meant to protect the copper hosing from chafe. There is a plate on the cockpit deck, which is plexiglass, and you can look below it and see the fuel gauge. If you were to take off or dismount this plexiglass plate, you would then access that fuel gauge, and you can actually take that fuel gauge out, and that serves as the fuel inspection port. The one drawback to this is how narrow, or it's not wide enough to stick your hand in. So you can see it does serve as an inspection port, but it does not provide the utility of actually being able to clean the tank if the time will come. That's not a wide enough hole to do something like that. So that's the one drawback I think I have on this tank that might be improved. Particulates, water, air are all contaminants to the fuel system. Those are all things you don't want in your fuel system. So the system is meant to protect the engine from consuming any of that. The fuel filters are all there to either collect and extract water from the fuel if there is any water in the fuel, or to extract the particles from the fuel so that the fuel can be distributed into the high pressure system and then created into a mist so that the combustion chamber can ultimately cause the pressure, which results in a small contained explosion. That all has to happen with very clean fuel. So this fuel system is incredibly important. Venting the tank, everything has to be in place for it. And that's a synopsis of the fuel system. I want to thank my subscribers for your support. I really appreciate it. If you've stayed till the end of this video, please consider hitting that like button. It really helps the channel grow. This is Sailor Eric. Thanks for watching.